It is 4 p.m. I'm going to call the Select Board, West Boylston Select Board meeting to order. I'm just confirming to go through. I want to make sure all members are present. Mark?
Present.
Raj?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Present.
Jay?
Yes.
Wonderful. We had one item. This meeting will be held virtually. We had one item on the agenda. We have been informed through council that Mr. Ryan wishes to proceed in open session. As such, there will be no vote to go into executive session. The reason for tonight's meeting is to give Mr. Ryan a chance to respond to the notice of the hearing and allegations contained in that notice, which has been provided to him on February 19th, and for the board to determine whether there is just cause for any discipline action, including possible termination of employment. Despite anything that anyone has read, at this time, the board has made no judgments. I'd like to turn it over first to our town council, who I believe, Darren, are you also on? Darren, once he can unmute, we'll give a brief presentation, including reading any relevant positions.
Good afternoon. Before I start, have we confirmed that Attorney Clifford and James Ryan are here?
I do see James, Mr. Ryan, and I do see John Clifford, I believe.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure they're present. All right, well, thank you. Through the chair, good afternoon to all the members of the board and to everyone attending today. My name is Attorney Darren Klein from KP Law, and and our firm is Town Counsel to the town of West Boylston. As the chair alluded to, it's important to be clear why we are here tonight. We are here to provide Mr. Ryan with an opportunity to respond to the allegations and notice of charges that were sent to him on February 19th, and then to the select board and then for the select board to determine whether or not just cause exists for any disciplinary action. We are not here to determine whether a flag with the name of the sitting president can currently be hung in the private area of a police department. There are plenty of ways to properly review, analyze, and address that issue if necessary. In fact, if that issue was reviewed in a more responsible and composed manner, it's very likely that we would not be here tonight. We are also not here to address the various comments and statements made to the press or any disagreement that may exist between the chief and Mr. Ryan, or which are not central or material to this meeting tonight. Rather, we are here to review the actions of the town administrator, James Ryan, and how he himself chose to handle addressing and reviewing his concerns. The alleged actions of the town administrator and their allegations were summarized in the notice of hearing he received on February 19th, and I will read from a major part of that notice of hearing letter that he received. On or around January 29th, you directed the facilities director, who is a civilian employee, to access without the knowledge of any police officer the private areas of the police department to see if a Trump flag was still hanging. You also instructed him and or acquiesced to him taking photos of said private areas of the police department. In doing so, you irresponsibly did not know whether the facilities director might also see, have access to, or take photos that could show private and sensitive law enforcement and or CORI protected information, as well as other potential private or health protected information. Such potential unsupervised access to such information could have violated numerous individuals' rights, jeopardized ongoing criminal investigations, and or created potential chain of custody evidentiary issues. On or around January 31st, when the facilities director texted you a photo of the locker room showing that a Trump flag was taken down, you encouraged him to further access and check the private gym area again without the knowledge of any police officer to see if a Trump flag was up in the gym area, the private gym area. When the facilities director texted you a second photo showing that there was a flag still up, you texted him the following, quote, "Are you bold enough to grab it for me and sneak out with it?" End of quote. This was not only wholly inappropriate, unprofessional, and potentially illegal, but you now put the facilities director in a position where his entire working relationship that he had built and the trust that he had built with the police department and the police chief could be permanently jeopardized. Moreover, by failing to notify any police officer, the police department was denied the opportunity to ensure that the facilities director would not have access to nor see any protected information that he should not view, or especially take photos of, or provide him with the necessary law enforcement escort if applicable and necessary. It's notable that 803 CMR 704 provides in part the following. Background check requirements. State, national, and state of residency fingerprint-based background checks shall be conducted on all individuals, including vendors and contractors, with unescorted access to secure areas of a criminal justice agency. Clearly and unfortunately, you did not inquire with counsel or any law enforcement official whether or not it was legally problematic to have a civilian employee access private restricted areas of the police department without proper notice to any police officer where Corey or other confidential law enforcement information could be in sight. Furthermore, it was troubling that you questioned so quickly whether the police chief may not be telling the truth and or that he did not comply with your directive. That having a Trump flag up in a private area of the police department in late January, early February of 2025 represented a civil rights violation, and or that such issues were so urgent that it necessitated that you take such drastic measures. Even if your concerns were valid, there were far more measured and responsible ways to manage and review the situation, including but not limited to following up with the police chief in person or otherwise, seeking legal advice on your plan of action, discussing the adoption discussing the adoption of a potential policy. Even though you apparently discussed the issue of the flag with other town managers, your response did not state that anyone advised you to send a civilian employee into the private areas of the police department, take photographs, and or sneak the property out of the police department. The urgency of this issue simply did not rise to the level of your drastic response, and your actions potentially created even bigger legal concerns than the issues you were concerned about, especially considering that you were just beginning your employment in your relationship with these town officials. Moreover, you unnecessarily chose a path and a direction so soon into your tenure that it virtually guaranteed a broken relationship and complete loss of trust with the police department and the police chief. Unfortunately, your alleged actions, if true, are responsible for a toxic, chaotic, and distrustful environment being created that could permanently damage your ability to work productively with the police chief, the police department, and other town officials and department heads moving forward. Those are the primary allegations that were set forth in the notice of hearing letter that was sent to Mr. Ryan. Also attached to the notice of hearing letter were the following documents that have already been forwarded and reviewed by Mr. Ryan and the board. Those are the February 4th complaint from the police chief, an email containing a February 7th statement from the facilities director that was texted to me, a summary of an interview with the facilities director done by the police department, a statement from Detective Pupecki, a statement from Sergeant Balvin, a no confidence vote by the police union relative to the town administrator dated February 14th, and a statement from the town administrator James Ryan that was received February 17th. Also referenced in the notice of hearing letter, but not attached, were texts between Mr. Ryan and the facility director from January 31st. Mr. Ryan obviously has these texts. With that, I thank you for your patience, and it is now Mr. Ryan's opportunity with counsel to respond to the allegations and present whatever information he would like to for the select board to consider. Thank you for your time.
At this time, Mr. Ryan or Mr. Clifford, would you like to
Sure,
respond?
I can go. I can make.
I was just unmuted. Thank you. James is going to make a brief statement to the board, and I'm going to make some remarks after that. James has already provided a detailed statement to the board, and he isn't going to rehash those details unless the board has questions. So with that, I'd like to defer to my client, James Ryan. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. First, I would like to reiterate my regret that this situation has caused any unnecessary stress for members of the select board or for any actions that I took that contributed to that stress. I would also like to reiterate that while my actions may have caused an unfortunate rift between myself and Chief Minich, one that I believe can be repaired, I had no role in having this dispute play out in public. However, with hindsight being 2020, I can admit that I would have handled things differently if I could go back. For example, I would have considered the issue closed after Chief Minich told me the flag was down, and I wouldn't have involved another member of the staff. The fact is, I was brand new to the position, and it threw me off my game to have my authority challenged so early and so directly that I was probably a little sensitive to that fact. It was never my intent to irreparably harm my relationship with Chief Minich, and I will continue to commit myself to a sit down with the chief so that we can maintain a collaborative and professional relationship going forward. Further, I'd like to reiterate again that as a member of the Massachusetts Municipal Managers Association, I am bound by their code of ethics and cannot become involved in political campaigns or political issues, and my actions were not meant to make a political statement. In fact, just the opposite. I was attempting to negate a potential problem internally before it became a political problem externally. I was also attempting to enforce Article 12, Section 4 of the West Boylston bylaws, which forbids signage on public buildings unless approved by the Select Board, enforcement of town bylaws being part of my responsibility as town administrator. There has been talk of the location of the flag being in a private gym within the police station. The fact is, there are no private areas in public buildings, but only a limited amount of places where the public can't freely roam. And as public servants, it is our responsibility to act ethically, even when no one is watching. The media has also reported that I asked a town employee to sneak into the police station, which is untrue. I asked an employee who had access to the police station to check to see if the flag was still there. And as stated, I regret doing that. In no way did I tell this employee to ignore any security procedures that might have been in place, and it is my understanding that he entered through the front door and even interacted with an officer in the building. I would also like to take a moment to note the relationship between the town and other levels of government. I am no enemy of President Trump and will work with local, state, and federal partners whenever needed so that I can ensure that West Boylston receives its fair share of support and federal funds for the things our residents need. Like everyone else, I took an oath to uphold federal, state, and local laws, and I take that oath very seriously. As we all know from recent court cases on flags and public forums at select board meetings, I can't permit communication on one side of an issue while restricting the political views of others. We are here to serve all West Boylston residents, regardless of party or political affiliation. It is this type of commitment to West Boylston and to public service that I hope the select board values. I pledge to learn from this experience, and it is my hope that the select board affords me the privilege to continue working for this great town and its amazing staff. Thank you for your time.
We're here because of a conflict between your new town administrator and Chief Minich. Under Chapter 23 of the Acts of 1995, which is your charter, Chief Minich reports to the town administrator. The special act is a state law approved by the legislature, signed by the governor. The chief's position in the chain of command is not a gray area, except in the course, except of course in the mind of Chief Minich. Chapter 23 also states that your town administrator cannot be disciplined or discharged except for just cause, and only by a 2/3 vote. In this case, 4 out of 5 members of the board. That's it. That's the law. James made a mistake by sending another employee into the police department to verify that the sign had been removed. He's told you he regrets doing that. He was not wrong in insisting that the flag be taken down. When James spoke with the chair about this situation on February 3rd, the chair agreed that the sign had to be removed. He was also.
That is false. I would stop now.
Am I gonna be able to present this case uninterrupted, or are we just gonna dispense with any due process whatsoever?
So can you please present evidence to that statement? This has been an ongoing issue. So can you present?
We were told that we would have an opportunity to present the case on behalf of Mr. Ryan. Why don't you want to proceed to a vote without giving him that opportunity? Have at it. All right. But let's not make a sham of this.
That's what I'm concerned about. Do you have evidence to prove that, or is this just a statement?
I am making some statements to point out what the law is.
Just to clarify, continue on the statement you're making, but you should make statements. If you have evidence to back those up, I'm happy to hear, but I'm not going to continue the false statements being made against myself or any board member in this plea. So do you have, please?
So you deny that you met with James and talked about this on February 3rd. That's your statement?
So my statement is I met with James at his request as a one-on-one in his first week in the job. What you're trying to say is that I told him to take flags down. So do you have evidence to say that, or are you making statements?
I'll proceed with my case if that's okay with you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Please note that that is a false statement. But thank you. Continue.
He was not wrong in his conclusion that the sign wasn't going to be removed. Several days later, that sign, or an identical sign, was in place. Again, James admits making an error, putting another employee in the middle of this and sending that employee to the police department without the chief's knowledge. That's not why we're here, however. We're here because your chief decided that this dispute should be addressed in the media and on any social media platform that he could think of. Government in West Boylston is based on several laws. More than 30 years ago, the voters of West Boylston asked the legislature to approve a new form of government. That form of government was adopted in the form of Chapter 23 of the Acts of 1995. That is what's called a Special Act Charter. That state law says department heads in West Boylston, including the chief, report to the town administrator. Not every town has that structure. West Boylston does. Chief Minich has told you he will not abide by that law. State law says that you cannot terminate the town administrator without just cause and only by a 2/3 vote of the select board. Your town council has informed me that this board doesn't believe that they have to abide by that law. Chapter 23 also says that you will follow the principles of progressive discipline if you decide to take action against the town administrator. If the board moves forward with termination, as appears to be the case, that's not progressive discipline. James is going to be fired without any warning or progressive discipline. You have a sign bylaw that prohibits signs being posted in or on public buildings. Chief doesn't feel like abiding by that law, and it's pretty clear the board is just fine with them ignoring that one as well. The Massachusetts Conflict of Interest law prohibits using a public position or resources to advocate for a political candidate, but the chief has made it pretty clear he's not going to abide by that law either. The allegation that sending a facilities person into the police station violated 803 CMR 7.04 is nonsense. If your officers are leaving confidential reports lying around, they're exposing that information to facilities people, cleaning staff, or anybody who happens to be walking through. I'm certain that they take more care with their work than that. If they're leaving evidence around, they're doing it in violation of every evidence standard or protocol in existence. Evidence is never supposed to be left unattended or unsecured. So the idea that he was jeopardizing criminal cases by sending someone who had access to the department is crazy. It makes no sense at all. Your chief has indicated that he will not report to the town administrator going forward. You're okay with that. He's also decided during your executive session that you wanted town hall closed to the public, and Chief Minich made the public statement that closing the meeting will not be enforced by me and my guys. The chief also said, I never told the officers you couldn't hang a President Trump flag up. I don't think that's legit. I think it's illegal. It's unlawful for him to demand that I turn it over to him. It's certainly not right. So even though you have a bylaw that says you can't do that, the conflict of interest law says that, he's just not going to worry about those laws. So really what we have in West Boylston, I guess, is what you'd call a menu approach to complying with the law. The board and the chief have made it clear they're not going to comply with your Special Act Charter, which was adopted by the town and the legislature 30 years ago. The chief has made it pretty clear that he's not going to abide by anything, including any directive by the board. I can't blame him, right? You've sent a clear message that he decides who he works for and which laws he has to enforce. I can't make it more clear. James has no problem with President Trump or anybody that supports the president. One of the most important takeaways from the last election is that citizens demand that those in government do their jobs impartially without political bias. James certainly understands that and agrees with that principle. James' primary duty is to make sure that local government in West Boylston operates efficiently and effectively. That means avoiding a completely unnecessary and avoidable public controversy like this one. James acknowledges making mistakes in his handling of this situation, but his actions did not create this circus. This situation could have and should have been resolved by a meeting between James and the chief with town council if necessary. That didn't happen. You now find yourself in the middle of a political controversy created by your police chief, and it's not his first go-round with this kind of behavior, but he got away with it in the past. He's going to get away with it going forward. James is going to be fired. He admits it. He made a rookie mistake. He was a town administrator for a period of weeks when he made this. He's acknowledged the wrongdoing. He wishes that he hadn't done that. If you go forward and fire James tonight, he's going to be forced to litigate. While you do have insurance, insurance won't cover the salary that's due with the almost 3 years left in his contract, which is a full $400,000. So while you have insurance, you're not going to be covered for the exposure you create by doing this. Taxpayers will pay that. You'll also be left to deal with Chief Minich, who for all practical purposes answers to no one and will decide which laws he will or will not enforce. Your next town administrator, who will be the third in less than a year, will have to take the job knowing that the board won't honor the charter, you won't honor his or her contract, and basically they're taking the job on the hope that they get along with Chief Minich, who apparently is the real hiring and firing authority. I would respectfully suggest that before the board moves forward and terminates James, that you consider alternatives. There are many qualified mediators out there who could be brought in to try to work through this situation. Mediation is only successful if both parties really want to solve a problem. I think the board is in a position to direct the police chief to do that if you wish. But I don't think there's any basis to terminate James. I think if the town does it, you're not solving any issues. Basically, you're exacerbating an issue that you already have and making it worse. So with that, I hope that the board considers something less than termination. Thank you.
Madam Chair. So I was muted, or I would have spoken up a little bit sooner, but there's a few issues that I want to address. First of all, I did not say that the board does not think to Attorney Clifford that they need just cause for termination. I never made any opinion as to what the board thought. What I did say to Attorney Clifford is there's a provision that's been mutually agreed upon by the select board and Mr. Ryan that allows Mr. Ryan to be terminated without just cause, provided that he's paid 6 months' pay in severance. And that contract was entered into in accordance with General Law, Chapters 41, Section 108, N as in Nancy. General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108N begins with, notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary, and goes on to say that the board can enter into a contract within a number of different areas, even if it's inconsistent with other general or special laws to the contrary. So yes, I am of the opinion that the board could honor that contract provision if it so chose to terminate Mr. Ryan without cause if it so chose. But to say that I said the board had said that they don't need to follow just cause is just a falsehood.
Did I address that specifically?
Let me finish. I
Sure.
somewhat unintentionally, but nonetheless, I waited till you were done. There's a lot of assumptions and arguments being made that having a sign up of the sitting president in February of 2025 without anything more constitutes a violation of the ethics law or potentially the sign bylaws. So those are just arguments. Okay. You know, that is something, as I said at the beginning, there are plenty of ways to have looked into that issue and address that issue. The board, to my knowledge, and certainly nothing I've read or anything that they've said at a meeting or to me otherwise, has ever made any comments that they agree or disagree with any position that the chief took. Yes, the chief has acknowledged he was very angry, upset, and hurt by some of the actions that Mr. Ryan took. And he said some things. My guess is, and I'm not the chief, he probably meant some of them, and maybe other things were said in an emotional state. But the board hasn't said, we agree with everything the chief said, we disagree with everything the chief said, we agree with part of what the chief said. And they've certainly not said ever that, oh, well, if the chief doesn't want to report to the town administrator, he doesn't have to. None of that has ever been said by the board, and is nothing more but a theatrical assumption being made by Attorney Clifford. There's no truth that the board has done any of those things. As far as progressive discipline, that was noted in the notice of hearing letter. And nobody disputes that the Town Administrator Act does include progressive discipline. But progressive discipline is not one size fits all. We have an employee who's only been here a couple weeks. Obviously, progressive discipline would be applied differently to an employee who's only been here, who's a couple weeks, and somebody who's been here longer. It would be applied differently to somebody who's the chief administrative officer of the town versus somebody who is a lower level employee. Progressive discipline also is applied differently based on the seriousness of the action. Is this something that, if James comes in or any employee comes in on his first day of the job and assaults another employee, you don't get a verbal counseling or written reprimand and say, if you do it again, we're going to have to give you a 1-day suspension. Progressive discipline is based on the seriousness of the action. And it's a well-known tenet of progressive discipline. Then if the action is serious enough, you can be terminated in the first instance. And I think especially important for somebody of a high-level nature employee as a town administrator, whether or not this is a relationship that in the best interest of the town to continue is another factor. And I'm not saying it has, that's for the board to determine. Has the actions caused such a rift and such a lack of trust with other employees and other department heads that Mr. Ryan would not be able to continue in an effective and lead in an effective way? Those are all issues to be evaluated both under just cause and progressive discipline. I think that's all for now. And I was trying to, when Christina, I do think if you have something to say in relation to what Attorney Clifford alleged regarding your statement, this is certainly a perfect time for you to say that. I know Attorney Clifford did want to speak as well. Thank you.
No, I think the theatrics to even what was taken out of context of your conversation with him speaks in volumes. I'm not going to defend kind of the theatrics of what he's trying to do. So, Mr. Clifford, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of remarkable. Council is citing Chapter 48, 108N as giving the board the right to violate the charter and a contract. That statute also says, and I guess if we had read the whole thing, said contract shall be in accordance with and subject to the provisions of the city and town charter and shall prevail over any conflicting position of any local personnel bylaw, ordinance, rule, or regulation. So that law specifically says that the contract has to be consistent with the charter. As council indicated, there are ways to address the legal questions, all right, on this, but your chief has decided that he would not avail himself of the opportunities to do that. In fact, the chief decided not to be here. The chief essentially said, I'm going home until you fire the town administrator, and that's where we stand. You provided, as part of the materials for this hearing, you provided a statement from Chief Minich, all right? So his allegations partly form the basis for this hearing, yet you've refused to produce Chief Minich. So for all of the brave statements that he's making to the media about his rights and his feelings and his sensitivity to what the town administrator did, he decided not to be here to present himself.
Well, that is also untrue. Chief Minich has never refused to be here. Chief Minich didn't even know when we were scheduling tonight. He is on his honeymoon out of the country, but he has not refused to be here at all. He was asked to be at the last meeting and he came. He had no idea when he accepted that James would not be there. So that is again not true. And as
So
far
exactly-
as far as
why then
as far
was
as
my request
41
for a
eight-
2-week continuance
as far
denied
as-
then when he could
as
be?
far as 41-108N and the special act of the town Administrator Act, the other issue is that there is no conflict between the special act and the contract. The just cause provision applies to if the town is taking an action, a unilateral action to determine just cause exists. However, there's nothing in that that says the parties cannot agree to a lesser provision in a severance agreement, which is not only done in West Boylston, but in other places too. So essentially, if the board wants to, they have the ability to determine just cause, and it does require a 2/3 vote and progressive discipline. But there's a contractually agreed to provision separate from that. It's not inconsistent with it that allows, in return for a 6-month severance, the ability to terminate the town administrator without just cause. So regardless of which supersedes, a conflict doesn't exist, and it's certainly a provision that is in many town administrator contracts. That's all I have.
I pointed out the illegality of that provision to Attorney Mazur several months ago, right? But you have a charter that was adopted by the voters, West Boylston. And the voters decided that just cause would be the only standard. So that's the standard voters want. That's the standard voters expect you to follow, but I don't have any further arguments at this time. Thank you.
On that note, this clause was actually put in at the consistent request of your client over an extended period of time and almost the mandate that he wanted in his contract. I find it alarming that you're fighting against it when it was something we actually hadn't had prior to your client demanding it be in this contract. But I thank you for that. It is quite eye-opening.
It was in his predecessor's contract as well.
I figured it, and that is his demand to this board was to put that in, but you're now fighting the fact that your client demanded it be in his contract, but now it seems the concern is it doesn't work for him in his current state. So that's kind of where we're standing. Outside of what's been presented to the board, we've heard from both lawyers and Mr. Ryan. Are there anything else from either attorney or Mr. Ryan at this time that you would like to say prior to opening up for the board to ask questions?
No, I have nothing else.
It may have been lost in some of the crosstalk, and I apologize if it was. For the record, we asked for a 2-week continuance. That was denied. For the record, we asked the Chief Minich be produced for this hearing. That was also denied.
Before I move on, James or anyone else?
Are you looking for any sort of final remarks before you deliberate, or do you?
Yeah, if you would, I open it up to you, Mr. Ryan, Blair, or James. If you would.
I guess, I'll just very quickly sort of say in summation, I don't want to repeat things too much. Again, the one thing that, well, I to Mr. Ryan's credit, he did, acknowledge that he should not have got the facilities director involved, but that is what we are here. And as much as, Attorney Clifford wants to make a big deal about the police chief being here, those are not, Attorney Clifford said to me, there aren't many facts in dispute. And that's the truth. There aren't a lot of facts in dispute. We're not reviewing anything about what Chief Minich did tonight or the dispute between he and the town administrator. The issue tonight is how Mr. Ryan chose to address the situation, whether it was proper to assign the facilities director or civilian employee the task of going into private areas of the police department without informing any police officer the true purposes of being there, acquiescing to taking multiple photos of those private areas, and then asking the facilities director, which again was not mentioned at all by Attorney Clifford or by James, are you bold enough to grab it for me and sneak out with it? It's clear, I think, from the presentation that those allegations occurred and that such rash action not only jeopardized the ability, potentially jeopardized the ability of the town administrator to work with the department, but also unnecessarily jeopardize the trust and working relationship between the facilities director and the police department, as well as possibly other departments. This was not an appropriate way to look into the issue, especially during your first week as a town administrator. It's not the way to build relationships and was an irresponsible and unnecessarily hasty and drastic way to address this matter. I tried to stay away from most of these articles, but I did read the one in the Boston Globe. And notably, one of the Salisbury Select Board members, where Mr. Ryan worked for many years, had a very, I thought, poignant observation. Ryan's handling of the situation could have been better. When you come into a job, you don't come in like a bull. You've got to you've got to know the lay of the land before you do. Unfortunately, that did not occur. And let's face it, complete chaos has ensued. And the trust and working relationships between Mr. Ryan and the department likely has been permanently damaged. If the board believes the allegations of the notice of hearing letter have been substantiated, the board can find, in my opinion, just cause for disciplinary action up to termination of Mr. Ryan's employment, even with the consideration of progressive discipline. And this is from the notice of hearing letter, especially given the following issues. Mr. Ryan's responsibilities as a town administrator and the lack of judgment showed so early in his employment, the seriousness of the alleged conduct, and the seriousness of the potentially permanent damage Mr. Ryan's actions may have caused that jeopardizes his ability to work with important town officials moving forward in a productive, effective, and trustful manner. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has, and I know obviously Mr. Ryan and Attorney Clifford are here to answer any questions the board has as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clifford, do you have any final remarks? Or Mr.
I will just say that James has expressed remorse. He's a new town administrator. He made a mistake. But the idea that this circus was directly caused by James' actions, candidly, is nonsense. And he made a mistake as a new town administrator. I think he was very candid and direct to saying what his feelings were about that. I know what council is saying about progressive discipline, but he made a mistake. He's acknowledged wrongdoing. Progressive discipline isn't waived because he's only been here a month. All right. He signed a 3-year contract. Right. If the board wants to hold Mr. Ryan accountable for this circus, you're placing all the blame on the wrong place. This is a dispute that should have been worked out between professionals in a professional way. Didn't happen, but the person who caused that isn't here. So again, I think that he's worthy of your consideration. You went through a lengthy process to hire him. He's worthy of another shot. He's a young person, a young professional in this field. He takes his job very seriously, and I think he would work very hard to do this going forward. I would hope that the board doesn't move precipitously and terminate him. That's just going to lead to a lot of litigation, and it's certainly going to cost the town a significant amount of money going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, hearing no one else, I would like to open it up to Raj. I see you're first on my list of folks. Do you have any questions?
Yes, this is for our town council. Is it allowed to share the screen of the texting in between the facilities director and Mr. James?
Yeah, the My only
So we are talking about Mr. James Ryan's text, you know.
I would
Are
only
you-
because there are
you-
photos of the police department. I
There
would
is-
prefer.
No, there is a text message. Are
Yeah.
you bold enough to grab it for me and sneak it out with it? So that's his, one of those things. So for that, the facilities director, no, my relationship with them is too valuable. Understood. I respect that. This is very unfortunate. He told me he took it down and sent me a picture. So he took it down and put it back up. So the other text, one of the texts is, I'm not talking about the pictures. I'm talking about, there is another picture, another text. So this is from Mr. James Ryan. The facilities director wrote, I have not forgotten about my assignment. I will take care of it at lunch. So no worries, no rush. Thanks for remembering. So that's this is, this itself shows on January 28th, he had the tour. On the same day, Mr. Ryan thought, what makes him to think that the police, the had the tour and he saw the flag. He did not say anything to the chief, but he came to his office and then, he asked the chief to take it down. So the police chief complied with his initial request and he took the flag down. So my question is, and also he sent a photo, provided the photo proof. So my question for him is, what made him to doubt his compliance? And also, Mr. James Ryan's attorney was saying, the chief has to answer to the town administrator. He did not say, oh, I'm not going to take the flag. I am taking down the flag. I took the flag. You have a photo evidence. But after seeing those photo evidence, he went to the facilities director. He has given an assignment on 28th or 29th. And then he followed up with a text message asking him, whether have you forgotten it? So what about the assignment? So why this is, and also, in this town, we have so many other problems. Why this one, it's bothering me for 2-3 weeks. Why this matter is such a burning problem for him to resolve it within 2 days. That's it. It does bothers me. I would like to get an answer for him from Mr. James Ryan. What made him to doubt on the police chief and why he asked why he gave the assignment to the facilities manager. What he can visit the police station at any minute. The police station from the town hall, how much distance? 2 minutes. He could have gone to the police station. He could have checked it, or he could have waited for a week, 2 weeks, and then he would have visited the police station. If there is a flag, he could have written up the police chief. So none of those things happen. So my question is, why? Why this problem is a very important problem, considering, we have so many other problems in this town, so many other important things to take care of it.
Mr. Ron.
So what exactly is your question? I think you asked why I doubted the police chief was one of your questions.
The police chief complied with your initial request.
So
and he provided a photographic evidence. What made you to doubt his compliance on the same day or even before that?
So I doubted the police chief would comply because when I asked him to do it, his answer was to me that he would take it under consideration. And then the picture I received was a picture of a wall. I can't really tell what that was a picture of. It was a picture of a wall.
So if that is the case, why you did not go to the police station by yourself?
Because I don't have access to the police station. I don't have keys.
But you could always talk to the chief, or you could have always talk to the another police officer. You are the town administrator. You have every right to enter into town facilities, right?
Yes, but I can only enter in if I go with the police chief, because I don't have access.
I believe that that's not the case. Anyway.
Can I ask a clarifying question? I'm gonna, Raj, I think you're asking Mr. Ryan. So there was doubt. Mr. Ryan, what you're saying is you couldn't actually yourself, just like us, we might be on the chair, or even I'd say a member of our fire department, they can't show up at the police station and get to what we've learned is the third floor of the police department to where this area is. And what you're saying is you could not either. So you did know that the facilities director could at times enter in there. The one question that floats around with trying to understand the situation with our facilities director, understanding he could go there for work. When you spoke to our facilities director, did at any time you say to him or during a conversation mention that he would need to notify someone if he was going he was going there not to say fix something, he was going there almost in surveillance? Was there any conversation that kind of went through that path? Because he went there he's allowed to go there for one reason. It's not, of course, this reason. Did you have a conversation with our facilities director around why he was being sent in to an area the public, any of us, shows up and cannot get into?
So I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I don't understand your question.
So did you have a conversation with our facilities director around him entering these areas to photograph it? Being that he normally wouldn't be able to go into those areas, right, without having a work order or a reason to be there. Was there any type of discussion with him?
And Madam Chair, I would just add that typically what the facilities director does first and foremost is he tells somebody when he enters the station exactly what he's there for to do, so they know where he's going.
So to lead with that, James, did you have a conversation with him so that he could make people, when he entered the police station, aware of where he would be going to inspect areas? Or were you unaware of that? It's okay to say unaware. I'm just trying to figure out the thought process.
I never asked him to do anything that he normally wouldn't do when he enters a police station. I asked him to find something that he needs to work on, and while he's there working on that thing, to check in the gym to see if the flag was still up.
Okay.
I think, your text is very clear. You might have asked the facilities director about the assignment. The assignment being verify the flag is there or not. If the flag is there, take a photograph. So the text from the facilities director reads the following: I have not forgotten about my assignment. I will take care of it after lunch. So this wording clearly suggests that you did directed the facilities director to do this job. So the facilities, or you might have created an opportunity to go for the facilities director to go in and take or verify the flag is down or not. And also you want a picture of the flag. And also, it does troubling me when you said that, are you bold enough are you bold enough? Your own wordings, your own texting say, are you bold enough to grab it and sneak out of the police station? What are you trying to say in over there? Basically, you are asking it to steal out of a police station. You are asking to make him commit a crime in the police station. That does bothers me a lot.
Mr. Ryan has stated in his original statement that if he had it to do over again, he would not have sent the facilities person in there, right? He admits that whole thing was a mistake. He also stated that, he was a new town administrator and he felt like there was a direct challenge to his authority. Not that that makes it right, but that he's explained why he did it, why he may have overreacted in that situation. And again, with hindsight, he's told you he would not have done any of this.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up. Mark, Vanessa, Jay, when do any of you have questions? Statements? Sorry. I think I
would just follow up with that last question. What would you do differently? Like you say, it was a rookie mistake. This is a question to James. What would you do differently now? How would you handle it? Your attorney had mentioned should have been settled by two professionals talking it out or figuring it out. What are your thoughts now?
Thank you for the question, Mark. As I mentioned in my statement, I would have just let it go after the chief said the flag was down, and I wouldn't have sent the facilities director in there. I regret that.
But on the thought process, like how would you work? What if you had another issue? What are your thoughts about sort of settling things or working things out with other department heads or anybody in town office? Just when they come forward. I mean, how do you do these things? How would you have done them at your last job? Something like that.
Well, we've had other issues arise, and the department heads and I have worked well together, and we've solved them. Unfortunately, a couple of people who were in their probationary period were not good fits for the town, and we dealt with that issue. And I've been working with committees and other department heads to work through grants and to put out an RFP for feasibility study. So, we have been dealing with different problems and issues, and there have been no issues.
Okay, I was trying to get an idea how your process had changed. Like, why we would think that you would do it different than you did last time. I'm trying to sort of in my head solidify that going forward it may not have happened or something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe more face-to-face meetings might help. But like I said, I've been working well with all the other department heads around town, and it's been very productive.
Thank you.
Jay, I heard you next.
Yeah, Mark kind of touched on what I was going to ask, but I'm wondering, in the moment, did you consider other alternatives before deciding on this approach? Was your first thought, this is what I'm going to do? Did you go through a process of elimination? What did that look like, James?
Well, I guess I would just say that the first thing I did when I saw the flag was confirm with a number of professionals in the field who have a lot more experience than me, if it could be a problem that the flag was there. And they all agreed unanimously, a few town managers and a police lieutenant. And then I addressed it directly with the chief himself the next day. And while he did give me a little friction about it, I thought we were moving towards the correct outcome.
But it sounds like some of the friction that he gave you led you to feel he was being untrustworthy.
I didn't think he was going to comply with my request as from his answers, and I went over that in my documents that I submitted, but you know, I politely requested that he take it down, and he stated that he would take it under advisement, and some stuff about the Strong Chief Act and things of that nature.
You did take it.
I've read and I've heard you say that you consulted with several other folks. I'm curious as to the thought process behind not consulting with, say, town council or the select board ourselves.
So every time we reach out to town council, it costs money, and it was unanimous that that political paraphernalia shouldn't be hanging inside a public building. So that did not seem like a prudent use of taxpayer money.
The issue though is no one you asked had any skin in the game. Nobody you asked shares any liability, whereas town council is the entity that shares that responsibility to make sure that the town is acting, and quite frankly, you personified as the town is acting in a way conducive to town bylaw, policy, regulation, and so that's what I struggle with, James, is that you just didn't check with folks that would have some skin in the game.
So one thing I'd add on top of what Select Board Member Morrissey was saying, did any of the managers or administrators you consult with advise you to send in a civilian employee to access private areas of the department without the police officers knowing, and then to sneak and take the flag down and sneak it out of the department? Was that the advice you got from any of the other administrators or managers?
No, I didn't go over with them that I would be sending the facilities director into a town facility to check see if the flag was still there.
Leading Vanessa. Any questions or statements?
I think Mark had a question.
Oh.
I'm just, my question is it's just following up on the same vein of questioning. It's just, why not do the straightforward when you were suspect of the chief conforming? Why don't you just ask him or go with him to see? Like it's sort of a self-fulfilling thing. If you said, can I go up there and see that spot again? And the chief would bring you up and the flag would or wouldn't be there, but it would have settled. It would have been like, oh, look, we got to do something about this. Not, why not do the straightforward? Call him, ask him, just talk to him about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I regret sending the facilities director in there. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just let it go and took the chief at his word. I went too far with that, and like I said, I apologize on that.
Okay. Vanessa, it sounds like his question was answered.
No questions.
No questions. Any statements from the board? I'll make my statement. So I haven't had the chance. I did have one face-to-face with Mr. Ryan after he had started. He's been with our town a limited period of time. He is new to being a town administrator. I think that the issue I get stuck on is the facilities director. I think everything else is kind of noise around this. My concern is what would have taken a few minutes for an email to town council has turned into weeks of expenses that the residents of this town are going to bear the cost of, whether it's legal. I worry about the members of the town hall, the other employees that have felt, disruption to their day-to-day, whether it be walk-ins, phone calls, concerned about social media posts. They still have to show up every day and do their job. And, they feel pretty, I would say there's some real unsure on even a chance to even get all these folks together to really even get to know Mr. Ryan in his capacity. I think that's kind of where I sit is this happened. This might have been something that could be overlooked, but the fact is sending another peer to go investigate that situation, take photos in an area that, yes, it is a town building, but it's not an area that the public can get to. They can get to the front door. Our chief did attend the first meeting where Mr. Ryan did not attend that meeting and provided something in writing. The chief did attend that first meeting and was asked a series of questions because we didn't know. How do you get into the building? Who has access to the building? What areas were these even found in the building? And he provided that. He answered the board's questions about his complaint, about what had happened, the statements. So I think a very small mistake that could have been handled different in the beginning has really spiraled into what I believe is an issue just on how would you mend this for everyone, not just the board itself, but every one of our residents, the employees. It has caused a havoc and a division in our town when it actually was in 11 days. It was within 11 days this happened. Just concerns me and alarms me of what will the next 30 days bring. That is my only statement to the board.
Madam Chair, just one thing I wanted to add. There's been some talk about, luckily it doesn't appear that the facilities director hopefully did not see anything that he should not have seen, such as quarry protected information. And Mr. Clifford said, well, he trusts the police department to, take those precautions. But I think that's a point that's sort of been lost tonight is nobody knew. When I say nobody, Mr. Ryan nor the facilities director knows what's out on a given day, what investigation is going on at a given moment, what information may be in a certain area at a certain time. And that's why it's very important that the police department, this isn't just a regular public building. Yeah, there might be areas of town hall, such as James's office necessarily, that a person in the public may not just be able to walk into. But this is a police department. It's a very different building than any other public building in the town. And the police department was not given the opportunity to take whatever precautions might be necessary at that moment to make sure that there wasn't critical information that was prohibited from anyone else seeing other than a police officer. And I think that's the point that really has been lost tonight is hopefully nothing was seen. I don't know that for a fact or not. But that's why it's important that a police officer be informed where somebody who doesn't have that type of clearance is going, because not every day and every hour is the same. And yes, I trust the police department to take the necessary precautions when they know who's going to be there and when they know at night that certain cleaners might be coming. But when somebody goes into an area at a time that they don't know about, it could be a day when something is out. And that's a risk that, really a town administrator should not be taking, especially with another civilian employee. That's the issue. It's not whether a security breach occurred. It's that it could have occurred and the police department wasn't given any opportunity to prevent it.
If I could address that issue, that's an interesting hypothetical, but that's all it is a hypothetical. Because the facilities director did interact with another officer when he was going in there, right? So if he didn't follow the normal protocols for checking in and reporting, that's one thing. But to say that he was walking around and no one knew he was there, that's false. And again, we're going to hang our hat on a hypothetical, actually a false allegation of a violation of a CMR when we have violations of state statute all throughout this, not by the town administrator, but by your police chief, and now presumably by the board.
The normal protocol is he tells the police exactly why he's there. And on that day, he said he was going to fix an outside door of the locker room. He didn't say he was going into the gym. He didn't say he was going inside the locker room and taking a photo. There's a big difference.
You're saying there's evidence in the locker room?
He clearly
don't-
did go in with a motive. The motive is to what is it? To fulfill the assignment. I will take care of it after lunch. That is his motive. That was directed by the Mr. James. So he went in not to fix the doorknob, but find an excuse to go in to verify that whether the flag is there or not. It's very clear. The texting is very clear. The text message between Mr. James and the building inspector is very clear.
So I don't think anyone is refuting
I
that.
do have a statement.
Mr. Ryan did state on this call here that's being recorded that he did mention to the facilities director to kind of find a reason to go in. So I don't feel, Raj, that there's anything that's concerning on that side. I did hear you say you had a statement. I think it
I
was
have a statement, yes. So again, my name is Raj Baru Rajesh Kumar. I'm one of the Board of Selectmen. As a selectman, I initially opposed Mr. James Ryan's appointment as a town administrator for West Boylston. During the selection process, I found other candidates to be more experienced, demonstrated stronger leadership skills, provided examples of sound decision-making, and showed a deeper understanding of the municipal governance. Within the first week in his office, Mr. Ryan's actions have reinforced my belief. Mr. Ryan approach to the recent matter exposed serious deficiencies in his critical leadership qualities, including ineffective communication, poor decision-making, disregard for established protocol, and improper contact. Rather than consulting a town council for legal guidance or verifying town policies, he unilaterally sought advice from 5 other town administrators. This failure to follow proper channel created unnecessary confusion and conflicts. Furthermore, his request for the facilities director to confirm and remove the flag, specifically instructing that it to be sneaked out, demonstrate a troubling lack of respect for procedure, professional relationship, and the chain of command. Mr. Ryan's improper action caused what should have been a routine administrative issue to escalate into unnecessary controversy, generating widespread attention on social media, dividing our small community, and creating unnecessary stress within the town department and the select board. The resulting public scrutiny damaged the reputation of our town, distracted us from more pressing municipal matters that directly impact our residents and also the taxpayers. Mr. Ryan's inexperience, coupled with his failure to communicate effectively and to follow established procedures, has led to the complete loss of confidence in his ability to lead West Boylston. Yes, while I sympathize with his situation, I firmly believe that allowing him to remain in his role poses a risk of further, possibly more severe, inappropriate decision that could result in costly consequence for our town and our taxpayers. Therefore, in the best interests of the West Boylston and my duty as an elected official entrusted with serving this community, I support the termination of Mr. James Ryan as a town administrator, and I urge my fellow board members to join me in this action. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Gonna go through each name. Vanessa,
I have a statement.
go ahead.
As one of the 5 select board members, I feel it's my duty to explain my thought process on the situation, as this is an open session. I have agonized over this ordeal for the past 3 weeks, and I have tried to do what's best for the town of West Boylston. I wholeheartedly believe there's no place for a political flag inside a municipal building, and that James Ryan had good intentions in trying to save our town from any potential complaint. However, this really is not about the flag, as referenced by our town legal counsel tonight, and as stated in the notice of hearing letter. And I'm referencing the Department of Criminal Justice 803 CMR 7.04 background check requirements. If our town administrator sent a civilian employee into the police station as alleged, without any police officer's knowledge of his accurate purpose for being there, and then asked him to sneak the flag out of the building, then there is likely just cause to discipline or terminate his employment. If this were not such a public spectacle, I would like to see both parties sit down and work it out. However, it's my opinion that this has caused permanent damage to any working relationship and can therefore not be salvaged.
Thank you. Mark?
Yes. I do have a statement. I had it written down, but I've marked it up. It probably won't be as polished as the others, but here goes. As a member of the select board, I take my responsibility to the town and the residents seriously. I may seem like I'm taking it lightly, but that's just me. My role, like that of my colleagues, is to carefully review all relevant facts and consider the broader impact on the town. This decision is not just about the individuals. It's about ensuring that our town government functions effectively and in the best interest of West Boylston. This is not a decision I take lightly. I remain committed to one that reflects a decision that reflects a long-term well-being of our community. I want to make some clarifications too. To be clear, I feel that the issue under review is not the decision to have Chief Minich review the Trump flag, but remove the Trump flag. That request was made. The Chief Chief Minich honored it by removing the flag. This activity is confirmed by Chief Minich's complaint, Mr. Ryan's response, and other testimony. The focus of the hearing for me is the judgment used to make the decision and the approach taken in handling the situation. It is the actions following the flag's removal that have raised concerns and require careful review. I'm encouraged, this is part of my markup, I'm encouraged by the people of the town who were at the meeting that were civil to each other during the public comment section of the in-person meeting. That was terrific. I'm honored to be part of the town. I also think that the police force is operating well. We've had security information from other people in the department. Seems to be going well. I think people feel safe. I don't see a problem. The security information about those in-person meetings was well done. In fact, it didn't need to happen. There was no security issues. People were civil and it was terrific. But I think the police force is operating fine. We can address that later if we have to. From this hearing, I was looking for some information from Mr. Ryan, a new idea. I was trying to give him an opportunity to show that he has learned from what has happened and all this kind of stuff, and had a new idea how to proceed. And if he was to remain, which he could, TA, how he would go forward, and what we should expect, or what we could see that would change our expectation that whatever, that things would go more smoothly. I was hoping that he would learn from it and not just regret it. I regret it. That's what I was trying to get out of this evening. Let's see, I guess that's all for my statement right now.
Thank you. Mr. Morrissey, do you have any statements or any final?
I don't think I have a formal statement per se, but I do want to say that I'm disappointed in the way that this issue has progressed. I think there's plenty of opportunities that have been exposed, and I do think that Mr. Ryan acted with good intentions. I think, however, his good intentions were not sufficiently backed up with appropriate action. I really struggle with the idea that he sought counsel where he believed that he needed to get some information, but ultimately came down on the idea that he didn't have to check with folks that might have to live with the decision. And I struggle with that a lot. I'm disappointed that we're here. I had high hopes for his tenure here in West Boylston.
Thank you. Hearing no one else from the board, based on the information you've been provided, the testimony given by both sides, whether now or in our prior meeting, are there any open questions that anyone on the board has? Are there any motions?
Madam Chair, I would just ask that Mr. Ryan or Attorney Clifford, if there's anything final they want to say before the board considers a motion.
Please.
Thank you, counsel. Certainly, if James has anything to add, that'd be appropriate. It's pretty clear which direction the vote is going to go. I represent cities and towns all over the Commonwealth. I've been doing this for 30 years, right? I assist managers who find themselves in these kinds of difficulties as part of the Managers Association Legal Assistance Fund. My primary work is representing boards like yourselves. And I understand the angst, the frustration that this caused, but it's pretty clear to me that we're ignoring the actual source of this. And certainly Mr. Ryan's actions triggered the controversy. It was blown up by your police chief. And after the board votes to terminate Mr. Ryan, I would hope that he's at least given notice and an opportunity to attend the disciplinary hearing that you should be having for your police chief, who aired this thing out publicly, stirred the pot consistently, tried to get his 15 minutes of fame on Fox News, all right, at the expense of you folks, at the expense of your residents, right? So I hope he's satisfied with this. He will have gotten the scalp of a new town administrator. Hopefully your third town administrator in less than a year is watching very carefully before applying here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm guessing you're answering for Mr. Ryan. I don't want to cut him off if you have anything to say. It's okay to say no. Can't.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, thank you.
Okay. Is there anything, Darren, from your side?
No, I just think I understand Attorney Clifford has a job to do, but I think it's inappropriate to continue to take shots at the police chief. This hearing is not about the police chief. The charges are not about the police chief. So, obviously Attorney Clifford's already made a statement, but I just find it to be inappropriate.
I do have a job to do. And when I advise boards, I give them the actual truthful information. What's the best course of action? I don't tell them what they want to hear. Thank you.
I do the same, Attorney Clifford. You can rest assured of that. Thank you.
Thank you both. Leave this. At this time, there is no motions in front of this board. And there are no open questions or statements as in them.
I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the select board find that there is just cause to terminate the employment of James Ryan as a town administrator, even while applying the principles of progressive discipline based upon the charges set forth in February 19, 2025 notice of hearing letter, which were substantiated tonight through the information under the document presented to the select board, and further to authorize the chair to work with the town council to prepare a written notice on the select board's behalf, confirming the board's decision, and that said termination becomes effective immediately, with Mr. Ryan being paid through the close of business tomorrow.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I do. Even after all these things, I didn't find any, not even a small remorse from Mr. Ryan. And also, I really truly sympathize the current situation. It's not even a couple of weeks. Even though, at the initial times, I said I did not felt right for his selection, but at the end, I did listen to Mr. James Morrissey, Vanessa, and other board members. I did supported his appointment, but this is a very, 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 very simple matter, simple flag issue, and he thought this is a very pressing issue for the town. So we have so many other problems, and he did not consult with the town council. He did not verify whether we have a town policy. So if he is going to talk to 10 different town administrators for his advice, so my worry is what will happen? This is a very simple thing, flag. What will happen if he is going to deal with a much more complicated issues? So how can we trust him? So that's the thing, it bothers me. That's where I made my decision like this. That's all.
Thank you. Any others? Hearing none. Raj?
Yes, for me.
Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
I'll vote yes. Regrettable.
I am a yes. Vanessa?
No.
All right, that being the only item on the agenda, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Do you just so we're all clear, can you just announce what the vote results were?
The vote results were 4-1. All members voted yes, with the exception of Vanessa voting no to not terminate.
Can I ask one more question just about what's going to happen?
Yep. Is it a question for procedural that you'll want to bring straight with KP Law, or is it a question?
It's about the in the letter, response letter about this meeting, there was something about separation and a settlement. I was just wondering where that was gonna lie.
So right now, there was a vote, a motion and a second, and everyone on the board has voted to terminate effective paying through till tomorrow. There's no settlement within that motion, so nothing further discussed here. Is that what you're asking?
Yes,
And-
I was wondering if there was potentially another time that would come up, but if that can't come up, that can come up. Okay.
Well, just to be clear, that the motion was to terminate effective immediately with his last day pay being at the end of business, he'll be paid through tomorrow. Obviously, in any situation, the parties can always discuss a resolution even after the action's taken. But obviously, the action was just taken by the board, I don't ever hang up a phone. If somebody calls me with an offer, I will always present it to the client.
Okay, so at this time, the only thing left, unless Darren, you say otherwise, is to adjourn the meeting.
I do not say otherwise.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mark, do I have a
Second.
second? Vanessa,
Second,
Yes.
Jay,
yes.
Raj,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Thank you, everyone.